Freshman Somali Muslim Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is back in the news, and gee, what a surprise. That was a mouthful. But this time for alleged controversial comments against the former U.S. President Barack Obama, calling him a, quote, pretty face who got away with murder, going on criticizing the former president's message of hope and change, which she called a mirage, and slamming the previous administration on, of course, its use of drone and border detention policies that were made very prominent during his administrations. And Jason, we're going to go over the full context here and bigger picture here, but I hate to say this, but she's not wrong.
No, she's certainly not wrong. And that's why you have both the left and the right, the MSNBCs of the world, the Fox Newses of the world, everybody attacking her for these comments. You would think a supposed quote-unquote right-leaning news organization would get behind her when she attacks the former Democratic president for his war policies and drone strikes of innocent people again and again and again. But that's not the case, is it? No, we've got to toe the establishment line. And just because I don't agree with this woman's religious beliefs doesn't mean that what she's saying right now is not 100% correct, Luke.
Well, her invoking Allah before in previous tweets do kind of raise a little bit of questions here with what she was saying before. But regardless of that, every year when there's a presidential election, there usually is a bigger switch, especially amongst the media organizations, with Fox News being puppeteers and cheerleaders and supporters of the president when he's a Republican, and of course decrying the president when it's a liberal president. We saw that during Barack Obama, and the media outlets usually switch from MSNBC, CNN for being critical to being supportive cheerleaders, but the switch really never happens when it comes to the military-industrial complex and these larger issues that Ilhan brought up, which we're going to talk about in detail and why she believes those things. But she is wrong on one thing because she's fighting this. She's saying, no, she was taken out of context. She has her own tapes of this interview, and there's even the reporter who interviewed her, who recorded this, released his own tapes as well. But she pretty much, even when the tapes came out, Jason pretty much confirmed exactly what she was saying, but she's not standing behind it. Explain to us what's going on here.
You know, she said that the comments were distorted, and I am glad she put out all of the audio, but the base points were all there. You know, it really wasn't a distortion. Again, both sides really want to cut this up. They want to take a couple small quotes and try to demonize her, when in reality, Barack Obama was a pretty face. He was a man who was coached by a professional character actor to become the politician we see before us today. That's not Jason Burmis making up a conspiracy theory. That is fact. The actor has confirmed this, and when asked about it, he doesn't want to go into it. So if you think that politics is any different from WWE-style scripted fights, you would be wrong. But when it goes off script, Luke, when somebody comes in who's of Muslim descent, who's a rising rock star because she's the first woman in Congress that's a Muslim, she's a person of color. Again, we can't retract that, yes, he was a murderer with a pretty face. That's exactly what he was. And I'm sorry if it's a harsh reality for those Obummers out there that still think he was the best thing since cooked breakfast, but he wasn't. He was a bad man. He was a bad man.
Especially with his foreign policy, of course, expanding the war on terror, financing radical Islamic terrorist groups, and ultimately creating the situation with his predecessor, George W. Bush, in Iraq that created ISIS, throwing a huge ton of arms, money, and support towards radical Islamist groups in that country to overthrow Bashar al-Assad. And you see the wreck and havoc left in Libya by Barack Obama's administration and his very aggressive foreign policy, which, again, doesn't get criticized here. This is a very important aspect. I'm happy she brought it up. Her kind of backtracking on this, again, doesn't shape well here, doesn't buy her any support. But if you guys have been watching this YouTube channel, when Barack Obama was president, we confronted his top advisor, Robert Gibbs, and asked him, hey, Barack Obama's expanding the war on terror to over 7 countries now. He's making extrajudicial assassinations legal with his alleged deposition matrix, aka allowing the President of the United States to allow the assassination of American citizens on foreign lands just on his decree alone, without a court, without a jury, without an official court hearing. The president could just say, yeah, we want to kill this American citizen overseas, and it could be legally done because of Barack Obama. Donald Trump has that authority. We don't know if he has yet used it because he just made it, he just took away the ability to see the reports of these drone strikes. But when Barack Obama was president, there was a 16-year-old American citizen that was assassinated during this program, and we asked Robert Gibbs, one-on-one, hey, why did your administration personally call for the assassination of a 16-year-old American citizen who, of course, was the son of Anwar al-Awlaki, who was looking for his father in Yemen? Can we play a little bit of that clip, Jason?
How will Obama defend his secret kill list next week at the foreign policy debate?
Well, look, this president has taken the fight to al-Qaeda.
Does this justify a kill list?
When there are people that are trying to harm us and have pledged to bring terror to these shores, we've taken that fight to them.
Without due process of law?
We have taken that fight to them.
Without a court of law? Illegally against the Geneva Convention?
I think I know where you are on this issue. I'm just trying to answer your questions without without you doing it. But if you want to answer my question,
I'm just trying to deal with the spin.
Well, no, actually, you're just answering my question. So I'll go to somebody who might want to listen to what I have to
say. You said it's important for the president, to do what needs to be done in terms of members of Al-Qaeda and people who pose a threat. Do you think that the killing of Anwar al-Awlaki's 16-year-old son, who is an American citizen, is justifiable?
I'm not going to get into Anwar al-Awlaki's son. I know that Anwar al-Awlaki renounced his citizenship.
His son was still an American citizen.
Did great harm to people in this country. And was a regional al-Qaeda commander hoping to inflict harm and destruction on people that share his religion and others in this country. And
that's an American citizen that's being targeted without due process of law, without trial, and he's underage, he's a minor.
I would suggest that you should have a far more responsible father if they're truly concerned about the well-being of their children. I don't think becoming an al-Qaeda jihadist terrorist is the best way to go about doing your business.
Now, again, the video goes on for quite a bit. I mean, we go back and forth. There's even another reporter with me, Sierra Adamson, who confronted him even more directly and got that comment where Robert Gibbs, Barack Obama's own spokesperson, his right-hand man, said, well, this 16-year-old American citizen should have had a better father. And this is one of the justifications, official justifications, that we actually heard, because, again, the mainstream media doesn't hold the administration accountable predominantly for the military-industrial complex move for this larger assassination. There was also indefinite detention that Barack Obama made as a president. There was also spying on American citizen that Barack Obama made as a president. He went on stage and he sold hope and change. Meanwhile, he brought over what Ilhan Omar is correctly describing here. The total opposite, that this was a mirage based off the bigger interests that were really running the administration. And it's not just the military-industrial complex. It's not just the foreign policy. It's also his illegal immigration policies, which were duplicitous with the messages he was sending, even making the detentions on the border as prevalent as they are right now. Many people, even on the right wing, now point out the fact that, hey, all the things that people are freaking out about Donald Trump doing at the border, Barack Obama did, and he did it in bigger numbers. And according to some articles, Jason, you're going to tell us about this, he actually even deported more people and is on scale for deporting more people than Donald Trump himself. Because, Jason, some even people called Barack Obama the deporter and chief.
Yeah, if you want to look at the real numbers, Luke, this is an article from December of 2017. Donald Trump was deporting fewer people than Barack Obama. And unfortunately, this is a big, big problem for the current Democratic narrative. After all, they're the party of inclusion. They're the party of open borders. They want, they don't want to call it illegal immigration. They like sanctuary cities. They like catch and release. So when the current president of the United States, who supposedly has a stronger stance on illegal immigration than the previous one, our Democratic savior, Barack Obama, well, that's an issue. And you're only seeing really right-wing type publications and middle-of-the-road publications even talking about this. The Economist, Politico. You're not going to see this on MSNBC. It's not going to be on Huffington Post. And it's really unfortunate because we have to play to the realities and facts of the situation rather than, placate on people's emotions and call Trump a Nazi, a racist, and a bigot.
Exactly. That's a very important point here because, again, a lot of the media pretty much flip-flop all the time depending on who's in power, have no morals, have no values, and just say whatever they can to, of course, galvanize their base and don't care about the truth, especially when it comes to the military, the wars, the aggressions that happen all over the world that, of course, the media on the left and the media on the right are predominantly silent about. And this is why we do our on-the-ground reporting. This is why we even did reporting in Mogadishu, Somalia, where Ilhan Omar comes from, of course, and we documented there, interviewed a person who was a farmer and lost over a dozen of his family members in a failed U.S. raid that was covered up and killed innocent people. The innocent people were a part of his family. He was a survivor of that attack, of that U.S. raid, and we, of course, interviewed him and gave you a perspective on an important military expansion that's happening mainly because of Barack Obama expanding AFRICOM, but now Donald Trump is doing similar measures, of course, continuing on with the drone strikes that Barack Obama set as a very dangerous precedent. And this is why, and again, I definitely recommend you guys watch the little short documentary. We're going to have the link in the description below. We should be playing little B-rolls of it. Absolutely insane footage from Mogadishu, Somalia that hopefully gives you a better understanding and a bigger perspective to maybe where Ilhan Omar is coming from, because the geopolitical situation in Somalia, where she's coming from, is extremely complex. But with the U.S. war machine, with the military-industrial complex there, it is certainly making the situation worse in so many different ways. A very complex situation, but hopefully it lets you understand where Ilhan is coming from. But hopefully Ilhan has a backbone and doesn't say she was taken out of context when there's tapes talking about those exact issues. That's my main grudge with her. Other than that, pretty much on point to this bigger issue. Let me know what you think, if you agree or disagree. And once again, thank you for watching and sharing independent media so we could provide you these kind of bigger nuanced points, which you're not going to hear on the military-industrial complex-connected mainstream media. And because of you, your sharing and your supporting and your donating, we're able to be here. And that's why I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on youtube.com/WeAreChange.